Today we have a very special conversation with our clients, Marek, Andrew, Sam. I wanted to start by guys introducing themselves first and just say a few words about yourself so people watching get to know you.
Sure. I'm Andrew Payne. I'm based in Dallas, love Texas, Republican, just throwing it out there. So I got into Ecom in 2021, but have a huge background in general in marketing. Ultimately, I wanted to focus on something that I can grow quite substantial and quite large, and Ecom is an interesting challenge because there's a lot of countries, a lot of product and category opportunities, and so I dove into it head first, really knowing very little about team building and really all the other structures of a business involving Ecom outside of marketing. And it's been an interesting journey, but we've gone a long way. Happy to share more about our progress later on.
So I'm Sam Hollowell, and I'm from London. Lived there all my life, and born there, but I left quite early. And I've lived abroad for like 16, 17 years. I got into Ecom about 7 years ago, and now I travel a lot. I produce products. We have a product design team, we manufacture in Asia, and we're really a mixture of let's say a product design company and a content creation company. We've been on the journey for a while. We enjoy it very much. I focus a lot on management, leadership, being a phenomenal CEO, building a great team, and also building brands that you're proud to talk about, So I think that would sum up kind of what I'm doing with everything, and
Thank you, my man. Marek?
Yeah, so I'm Mark.
Marek, or is it Marek, or is it Mark?
It's Marek officially, but call me Mark. I think it's much simpler.
Oh, nice.
Mark.
They're called Mark. I'm like, is it Mark? I'm like, Mark.
I think in Czech language it's just Marek. But generally speaking, I'm talking mostly English, speaking with people English, so it's much easier to just say Mark. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Mark, born, raised in Czech Republic. I'm in Ecom for 4 years, doing really nothing special. Because there are levels to this game.
And he's smirking, like doing really nothing special.
Big smirk on his
right?
face. Well, he's like, I'm doing this special.
Like for real, when you think about it's what you referred to in the beginning. There are levels to this game, and what you're doing right now is pennies to someone else that, there are stages, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is in a different
100%.
stage, but I think it's very important to just always perceive your current situation just as a
stepstone.
Yeah, and almost like, as a stepstone, that's one, and just in my head at least, that's how it is. It's like always a warm-up. I always tend to tell my business partner, hey, like we're literally just warming up. No matter what's the stage, like how far we have gone, hey, it's always just a warm-up. And when you think about it and put it in perspective and look at a 20, 30 years old horizon, it's really like what I'm doing here. I'm just writing VSLs, making some cash, selling gadgets, that are changing people's lives, cool. But I didn't invent anything. There is no special. With you it might be different already, but again you're in a different stage. But
it's the same concept.
It's like when I really distill it down to what is the net impact that I have with whatever we are doing right now. It's compared to what I aspire to leave behind me. Leave behind me, period. It's really nothing. I'm just selling gadget to make profit. And I had this conversation with Alias 2 days ago. And I told him, just look at this room. Every single one of us here, the primary driver of whatever we are doing is still cash. You can tell yourself whatever story, but we're, and it's natural, it's completely fine. But that's why when someone asks me, they come to and they're like, oh, you're this guy that's killing it with VSLs. I learned that in 3, 4, 5 months. And I think that this perception that you don't kind of try to pat yourself on the back for whatever you're doing allows you to move faster. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. Like something that I told my team, or a few members of my team recently, that we were identifying challenges and problems within our business that we need to solve in order to take the next step. I said, ultimately, I'm the problem. It's me. It comes all back to me. How I thought about it, how I made decisions, who I hired, what we did, what direction we took. It ultimately comes back to me, and yeah, that's how you take the next step, though, is being aware of it. So like you said, don't always pat yourself on the back, but being very much like willing to address the reality of things. Like I mentioned to him earlier, and I think even to you previously, like focus and decisions are really the things that I'm really trying to improve the most in myself now. Because like the more focus we get, the faster we grow. The better we perform. The better decisions I make, the faster we grow, the faster we perform. And ultimately, things get better and better that way.
I think you're right about that, but I think one thing to also keep in mind is decision making at the time is not, you don't have all the information.
Exactly.
Right? So when you look back,
it.
So it's kind of the asymmetric situation where you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You've only got what you've done in the past. And you'll make many
that's
times
what I'm saying.
wrong situations.
He mentioned like don't pat yourself on the back because you're always learning.
Correct.
You're never stopping. As soon as you stop, thinking or stop feeling like you've got more to learn.
Yeah, it's about just not having hubris. That for me is the word. Don't have hubris as you're going on your way to the top, because like you said, everyone's on their own. I always say it's like we're all on our own CEO in a hero's journey, right? And like you said, even if you look at it relatively to other CEOs, other rich people, other industries, that's all well and good, right? But for you, when we all look back and we all take our last breath on this planet, when you look back, success will be whatever you envisage for yourself. And that's a very different person than me. Everyone's different. So everyone has their own hurdles, their own personality types, their own picadillos, their own,
What is picadillos?
It's kind of like it's like an English, not necessarily English, I don't know where it comes from, but it's kind of like the intricacies of how you do things. You kind of see what I mean, and they're very intimate to you. So you only really let like your wife see your picadillo. You see what I mean?
I see.
Yeah. So that's what your wife knows about you. That's what your brother knows or your mum knows about you. So it's like you're interesting.
What makes you you?
Yeah, the quirks that like now we don't know or see with each other because we don't cohabitate.
Is it the dark side?
No, that's different. no, that's a different place. It's a different place. But from knowing that, you then are able to go on your own journey, whether you want to be a crypto person, whether you want to be an ecom person, whether you want to be a finance person, it doesn't matter. Each of those, in however way you shape it, it's like your fingerprint. You have your own identity of how you want to be a CEO. And like we said before, from A to Z, there are so many nodes of being a great CEO in whatever you choose to do. Now we're doing it in ecom. In the future, I'm sure we're all going to do other things, investing, SaaS, all these things, right? So all of our inner heroes journeys has such a long, interesting time horizon. Like, look at all what we do. It's fantastic, right? And we can pretty much now do anything we want. So what do you want it to be? Because if you understand how to manage the nodes, it's applicable in any industry moving forward. Because like we do it, we have to make content, we have to make funnels, we have to make ads, you have to figure out the product, you have to do the logistics. All these things are nodes specific to this business. But like I was saying outside, in order to really grow the business, your real skill is being able to hire people to run those nodes better than you could yourself, because you can't spread yourself so thin. So when you can hire people, put them there, and you just kind of either coach them or even remove yourself completely, that's how the biggest businesses in the world are built. It's all built on people, but you first have to understand the nodes of your business and learn how to hire for those nodes. And then when you get really good, you don't even have to know anything about those nodes, because you're just great at hiring and putting business together.
What is node?
Like, so I call them data points that really, really matter. So if you're looking at like a funnel, you'd have your click-through rate from your ad, your pre-sale click-through rate from your lander, your add to cart percentage rate. You kind of see what I mean? So each one of those nodes to optimize your funnel, you have to work on. Same in your business, like on a more escalated scale, there's big levers in the business and you need people to run those levers. You can't run them all. You can't run fulfillment. You can't run CS. You can't run media buy. You can't run content creation.
So do you mean like identifying, let's say there's like, for each one of these like key KPIs pretty much,
Correct.
Identifying like a particular person.
But they're more complex than KPIs, than nodes, because they apply to you as a person.
Yeah, but
you kind of see what I mean? That's the complexity about individuals.
What do you mean applies to you as a person?
Because a KPI, you can't have a KPI for you as a person. You have like so much emotion and intricacies and like emotional baggage behind it that for you to become a great CEO on your journey of it, the node for you is different. You've got to figure out what works for you. What works for me to hire up people isn't necessarily what's going to work for you. Your interpersonal relationships, how you want to build your business, what industry, it's all very personal. Every billionaire is different for what they do, how they did it. Like, so for you to really be successful, you've got to figure out your nodes, like your KPIs, but it's more complex because
when you say nodes, do you basically mean your nodes are really the areas that you're weaker in?
Whatever business you choose to go in, there are certain things you need to learn
Yes.
to make it work. Each one of those nodes at scale, you must be able to hire someone.
Yeah, okay.
to
So for
operate
example,
that,
like
yeah.
your acquisition, all customer acquisition elements.
Correct.
Your fulfillment, your customer experience.
However you want to build it, yes.
However you want to structure.
Yeah.
So those nodes might vary person
Correct.
to person.
Correct. And on
but,
a grander scale as a person.
but like inside of acquisition, you might have
Yeah.
your paid media, organic media. You might have
Yes,
your,
correct.
you know.
Well, I just found that it works in life as well. Like you've got to know the things in life that work for you. Some people like meditation, some like yoga, some like football, some don't like this.
He's
Like,
such a
you have to have the
he's
balance.
operating on such a different like.
He is thinking a little bit larger.
Yeah.
Because even I'm not
I'm trying
operating
to
on nodes.
catch up. I'm trying.
You and I, we operate more on flatline structure.
Like, no, I see what you're saying, but
You just send Marek into like transcendental like retreat.
No, I don't really understand the point of it.
it's
I
everyone,
do.
everyone's very different
I mean-
in how they achieve things, you know. So
Yeah, I
what
get
works
it.
for you is very, very different. You've got to figure it out. That's really the point, and then teach other people how to figure it out. That's the point, because if they can't manage those spots, that's the intricacy of hiring and bringing someone brilliant into your team. You can't do it.
What
all
he's
yourself.
saying is at some point in time, you're going to have to delegate the VSLs.
correct. So
And
someone
you need
to
someone
run it.
exceptional you can delegate all VSLs to. Now VSLs is a component of marketing, so you have like a marketing node. Then you have like paid, creative, whatever. VSLs is a component of creative, for example.
Yes.
But
then
you have to
other
have
big areas of the
so you have
business
one
that you always
person
have to do,
responsible
yeah.
for marketing, one person responsible for creative, for content, whatever, and one person underneath that's responsible for VSL specifically. He's saying you need to structure it long term for growth.
But how is that related to notes and you being personal? Like,
Because it's the same with your life on a grander scale. You purposely go after what you want. If you marry the wrong person, or that's what I'm talking about, the nodes in life. In business, you have these key nodes. In life, I think it's the same way. So I think being able to, like you said, get the people in your team to align their goals with the vision of the company
Yeah.
on their own inner hero's journey, I think is the way to manage teams.
yeah,
at scale,
I think to put it simpler, what you're saying, to kind of distill it down, business is a reflection of you, right?
Yes.
Lacked reflection of you. That's
Sure.
one thing that I found out also somewhere midway through my so far very long entrepreneurial journey, if you will, and that is, the way you behave will be reflected on our business, depending on what type of activities that you're doing. But overall, your habits will reflect on your business a couple months later. And I guess that it's also because of what type of business we're doing. Because then, for example, if Elon Musk, this Sam Altman guy, or any CEO for that matter, who is leading a company with 1,000+ employees, I guess that his habits have a maybe larger swing impact that takes longer to project. But my point being, to put it simply, what you're saying with the notes, if I understand it correctly, is that business is a reflection of you that's delayed. It's deeply personal because, again, it's a reflection of you and your inner values and all that. And I would add to that one more thing. What's the name of the CEO of Gymshark?
Ben Francis.
Ben Francis.
Yeah.
He said something very interesting. I think that I heard it a few years ago as well. He said, well, because he's the one who actually went from, he's actually what?
He went through the whole fucking
just a few years
the whole
older than
fucking
me.
cycle.
Yeah. And what I love about it is that he was the very founder. He started with from printing his own fucking t-shirt or sewing his own fucking t-shirt over to leading and being a CEO of a $1 billion company, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm pointing this out as well is I like what he said, because the business goes through different stages, right? The same way the business is different when it's in the beginning stages where you're looking for product market fit. Then you hit 7 figures, then you hit 10 million, and 30 million, 50, 100. The problems that you're facing are different.
Yeah.
But what I like that he said, and it's another thing that kind of ties to what Alex Hormozi is proponent of, but I will get to that. But what Ben Francis is saying, or said in that podcast, was, in the beginning, you need to be kind of cocky and arrogant, and you should listen to people a bit less, because you're the one who is kind of still, your vision is still infantile, right? It's like a egg shell that's just popping, like a little bit, It's just about like the chicken is inside, but it's still half boiled or whatnot, right? And but it's very small, and you're the one who will either kill that egg or make a chicken out of it ultimately.
Yeah.
I mean, poor metaphor, but you get the point. And so he said, in the beginning, you got to be arrogant. But then as the times goes by, and no one will tell you when is the right point, there will come a point where you will have to find the humility to be able to listen to other people and get to a stage where you're right now at, and that is really build geniuses.
Yeah.
And it's just to kind of complete the thought, it's what Alex Hormozy said, that until 30 million, and I don't know whether it was EBIT or revenue per year, you're really a genius with 1,000 hands. And when I look at my company, majority of people that I have on my team are still just my hand extensions. There are a few people that are already
self-sufficient,
self-starters, self-sufficient, and they don't really need my initiative. John, for example, that's the best example. But there's few more guys. My native media buyer, also great self-starter, has a ton of experience already. So,
but like I said, it's about context.
But that's the stage I'm in too, like, because you and I are in that similar stage where we're breaking through that one barrier. We're at about 30 million approximately. Like, I see us going well beyond that, but I'm seeing the ceiling being capped. And you're right, I am like the lead, and most of my team is just the extensions. But I'm the bottleneck because of that.
Yes, you are. But it's about context, like I said. If you want to be able to get them to that point as quickly as possible, just teach them the context of what they're doing more and let them make
but the thing is
that... But that's the hard part.
That's not the hard part.
What do you think? Yeah.
That's the time-consuming part. Because there's two parts of it. It takes my time, and it takes them time to learn.
Yeah, but you don't have to necessarily do it, though.
I don't have to do it, but I also want to do it faster than 6 months.
Yeah, I suppose. It depends on the
So to me,
task,
in my stage, for the majority of the cases, it's not about coaching or training the team. It's about hiring and bringing in the team that have a longer experience track record that we haven't capped out yet. Because like kind of the analogy model I've been using is that if the company is growing this fast, and then we start with people at this level, what's happening is we're both growing, but the company way outpaces them. So for us to kind of hit the timelines we want to in the right speed without having to consistently keep repeating and replacing people, we have to hire a little bit further out, so that way when we're growing, we get farther.
Do you not think you could grow the people at the same time with it though?
You can, but at my stage, I'm growing so much faster. It's because, I think here's why. My experience and understanding is at a strong level. So in the beginning, it was fine, but now we have our momentum. I have most things figured out. And because we're moving so much faster than in the beginning, they can't learn as fast as I'm wanting to execute. And that's important to me, because speed is also a key element of success.
Yeah, that's why I said.
So there's a weight between how fast can I train them and how fast can they learn and improve, because not everyone learns and improves in the same speed. I have a couple of members that learn very quickly. Most of them are slow.
So these are the outliers, pretty much. Get rid of the rest.
They're the outliers. It's like, it's very obvious when you're reviewing your team where your weaker links start to form. Certain weaker links are a higher priority to make evaluation.
It's a numbers game. It's like investment. I mean, 1 out of 10, kicks it.
I think it's just natural. Like it's just natural, basically. But the point is, like, for me, training the team, educating them, doesn't work.
Depends on the caliber of people.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
So where I'm at
I
now,
need further.
I can just train those
I need
six and then they
higher caliber people, preferably with more experience, so there's less hand holding on simpler things.
Do you have the team ready to onboard these people and get them going yet, would you say?
What do you mean exactly?
So if you're bringing in that many high caliber people, onboarding them the right way, integrating the right way, because you need to get to the point from them to learning about everything to now driving the business forward. Like, what do you think about the time frame for doing that?
So for onboarding them, I don't think that's a problem. I think that there's still some process improvement for some of those areas that haven't had a key person overseeing it at the right level. But for example, I had a conversation this morning with my COO, and I was comparing Marek. And I'm like, Marek is executing on certain areas much better than us, like significantly better than us. And honestly, it makes me a little bit annoyed.
It's normal, it's good.
It's normal, it's good, because on my side, it's like a challenge that I have to solve. Because I don't like being number 2 at anything. but the point is, like, he's executing very well at certain areas, and what I addressed with her was that it's not, and he has, I would say, a little bit less operational structure than we do. But the fact that he has better people coming in to his company, even with lack of operational structure, they're executing better. Whereas we have sound operational structure, but without the right people, the operational structure means with my COO, when I brought her on board, like, one of the most impactful things right from the start was the fact that she audited everything within our business. I kid you not. She broke down like 2 or 3 fully detailed Excel sheets that had like 55 questions each, covering so many questions I didn't even know how to answer some of the questions myself because I'm just not aware of it. I'm not kidding. And she would mark everything. It's either like it's complete, it's like kind of in progress but needs improvement, and it's like not even started being read when it's not even properly started, basically. 85 to 90% of every question on all these areas of our business was read. Like, it was when we went through these sheets and she explained all these questions and what they mean and why they're rated this way, I really understood what she was talking about, but I really recognized just how we were as a business. We weren't really structured very well at all. But the next step, which was what I feel is outside of auditing was the most important step, was understanding what's the highest impact areas and the areas that you can execute and improve quickly. That was the first main step. In the next 90 days, we solved almost all those major issues, and everything immediately started operating.
It always starts with assessing, creating that gap between what you're doing and what you should do. And that audit is really just assessing the current situation.
Yes, because my problem was lacking operational understanding. I didn't even think about half the things or more that she brought to attention. And so now that I have this picture where I realize what our business actually looks like. And let me give an example, because not all of these things are super like mind-blowing audits. Like, it's not crazy shit. One of the simplest things was the fact that we evaluated how do we make the team, the company, more connected, more transparent, and more just feel like they're a part of something. And this is just a very simple example, and it wasn't the highest priority, but one example. We built out a simple company dashboard that had an about us about the company history. And when I say company history, I mostly mean my history, where I have taken things and how we led to where we are now, right? So that way, anytime we onboard something, there's a spot they go through and they can read about us, so they know what they're a part of and the history of it. Then another area where it's like a team directory where they can see everybody. I mean, it's a super simple thing, right? But here's what happens.
This a lot before,
and it seems so stupid from my perspective. I'm like, I don't give a shit about this because it doesn't help me make $1, but actually it does. It does make me make $1. The reason why is because now every person that steps into our team from day one, they know who we are, what we've been doing, where we're going, what our goals are, what's our objectives. Very clear. They can reference it any time. They know everyone on the team, their position, and blah, blah, blah. They know all of our company policies. We have literally company policies, like code of conduct, all this stuff that seems, it's a real business. I wasn't running a real business, is really what I'm getting to in that sense. You fix these kind of basics, which are not high impact, but they're fast, and they bring clarity.
Because everyone can grow it, I find.
And then the next step is fixing. We fix, like, in that same process, we fix like company benefits and kind of perks and stuff that motivate people, that keep people retained and things of that nature long term. But the next step is, okay, great. We realize that this area needs operational revisiting, this area needs improvement in that, this area needs training, all these different kind of components that we started to execute. So another example of this early stage process, because I recognize that if we don't have vision, we don't know where we're going. And now, like, this stuff is not mind blowing. Let me tell you, they teach you this in business school. I never went to business school.
It gets lost in the source of
it gets lost in everything. It gets lost when you're focused on making money. So a lot of these smaller self-funded guys who've never been to college and all this other shit, they're all approaching it the same way, whereas they don't think about these actual business elements because they don't recognize the value of it. But once you understand, she asked me, she's like, what's our goals? Where do we want to be in 3 years, 5 years? I said, if I know. We did 5 million the first year. That's all I know. We're going to push as hard as we can push it. I don't care. I don't care if we do 25 million next year, as long as we're growing.
But it's good to know.
But we need to. how are you going to hit 25 million if you don't even think you could hit 25 million?
Okay, so you responded, right? You didn't have like a clear answer, right? Did she ask you to clarify? Did she ask you to build the plan?
Yes. So she forced me.
Nice.
Do you know what the hardest part of it is? The hardest part, even once the plan is built, is knowing how to, so this is a great point you've made, right? And it goes back to context. Knowing how to teach your team the difference as you grow between doing stuff and managing.
Yeah.
Being the key people in those nodes, like we said, in those key areas, they need to know when to do stuff and when to lead and manage. Because if they have people underneath them, like our creative director, right? She's got a bunch of people underneath them and they've got their own little teams. She needs to not only manage them and lead them, she's got to be able to job slip down with them and figure out that fire that needs to be put out to fix one of the issues in that process of converting customers. You kind of see what I mean?
In the clouds, in the dirt.
Yeah. So
Clouds,
she's got
dirt.
to know when to go up and down. So we call it knowing the difference between when to job slip as a doer and then when to, let's say, just focus on leading. And our team, for example, they have 50% of their time mapped out. 50% is completely open every day. So that way they can then pivot and maneuver to whichever team needs her the most. And the majority of what she does, at least like 50% of her time, is just having meetings with her team.
Sure. And kind of what I was getting to is that like...
And that's, sorry, what position is that?
This is our creative director.
Creative director.
Yeah.
Half of her time is spent on meetings, talking with people?
About 40%, planning shoots, like, because they do a lot of production of video as well, they obviously have a lot of planning. So she's really good. She can do pretty much every role, but she can't do every role. Like you said, time is limited. So she manages, kind of like a microcosm of what I do.
Yeah.
She manages like 4 key people in that team who then execute all the content.
Yeah, well, I thought like, in my setup, I thought that processes was what's lacking. Processes is just one component. If you don't,
person is the second.
yeah, that too, but if you don't even have a foundation, if you don't build an actual company foundation, processes without a company foundation means shit. Because you can't build unity, you can't get everyone on board, like we talked about.
That's why I always say systemize.
Having your warriors. But my point is, it's so simple. Starting with the values of the company, your history, what are your goals? Because the one thing like, how do I set goals? How do I set 25 million? No.
But like you said, it's about being able to attract people to go to war for you.
I was overthinking it. It doesn't matter. I set a goal. As we continue progressing, you adjust the goals.
I think this is so important
because you don't know how to do it, right? Because like I set a goal of 25 million the first year. No, I'll give you an exact example. We did $5 million in revenue the very first year. I didn't have this particular COO. I had a different ops manager. When I hired this one for 2022, when she's going through this process, we finally come down to setting these particular top level company goals. I said, I don't know. Our goals were 25 million, 3 brands, and like a couple other kind of things we have, but those were the 2 main things. 25 million, 20% profit, and 3 brands. I had no clue why I was setting it that way. That's just what I wanted to hit, right? And so here's what happened. Last year, 2022, we did 16 million, mostly with 1 brand, not 3, not 25 million, right? But now what happens is, I have understanding based on everything we built. This year, I can project more accurately. The first year, I had no clue how to project, how to set these goals. But the fact that we had goals, now you can say, okay, what do we need to hit 25 million? We need this brand to do X, this brand to do X, this brand to do X. Okay, those brands, what do they need?
That's the theory behind it.
I mean, this is just the early stage. When you don't know, you start somewhere.
You have to make assumptions, and your plan is only as good as
and so what happened by the end of the year is that this brand got cut, that brand got cut, we focused on this brand, things started to grow.
It tends to be the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
The Pareto principle working.
Now rolling into the beginning of year 3, 2023, it's different. We set a goal of, our stretch goals of 50 million. We know it's 1 brand. We have a 20% net profit margin goal. We know exactly how we're going to do it though. YouTube, Facebook, elevating our creatives, our ads, better creative testing process structure, better copywriting, better AOVs, upsells. Like there's certain plans you build out, expanding on Amazon, for example. You know how to build the strategy to support the goal, but the key thing is sometimes we overthink it in the beginning and you don't realize that setting a goal is so important.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Because how can you get to your home if you don't have a map and you've never been there before?
Yeah, you can't hit a target you're not aiming for, basically.
Yeah. If you've never been there before, you're just aimlessly trying this and trying that. I have even friends of ours that we know mutually. If it wasn't for some input given by other people that we're aware of, they would be way off on a different track. And it's because they're not structured. They don't have their goals set. And I went through that same process and I recognized it, that one person's wanting to do X, Y, Z, and I'm like, why? Why? That's the wrong decision. And it's because they don't know where they're headed. They have no point, no pin dot dropped. They're just wavering this way, they waver this way.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I also think, like, to add to that, how do you then implement that inside your team so that they're all doing it, so you don't have to...
Doing what part?
Just all of it in general, like to grow the business, like you said, as you're growing from one stage to the next stage.
But
it's like, I know you're doing a lot of it right now, and there's a lot of people who are, you're managing them really well.
Yeah, but let me break it down more simply, like
Okay.
more structured. Finally, I'll try to be like concise. Basically, when you set your goals and you work backwards, you define all the ideas that can help you get there. And then once you define all the ideas, that's when you do the high impact speed of execution model.
Impact assessment,
Then you
yeah.
reassess all those ideas and you plug them in. Boom, 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 boom. High impact, low impact. Speed, low speed. Right?
It's still based on assumptions, though. That's the
It's
thing
based
you
on
have to be careful about,
it's
yeah.
based on
How would you?
Hang
How would you? I would love to know. How would you explain this to a guy that's like 1 year in? He was not profitable. He had some days up and down.
This isn't his problem.
And he's like 1 million revenue a year, and he wants to get it to 8 figures.
No, we just did this.
He's got simpler problems
I
than
shared
this,
this.
though.
I shared this exact feedback.
But this
and-
isn't this like rather a concept?
But you
No,
you get
no.
to this point first you just have to get it right, like you said. First you just have to get it right, and then you can start fixing everything.
Get what right?
Like, get the business working first. Like, to get to this point, he's got to have learned
I mean,
a few
you need
basic
some.
things.
You
can't just give it
need
to a
tiny
newbie.
So
momentum.
this doesn't precede the business success, because isn't this the way
To a certain
to?
level.
This does not proceed.
So
the
you're
business.
rather talking about something that will scale the business to the next level?
I'm saying that you have to have enough knowledge already under your belt to have some momentum. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be 50K a month, 30K a month. That's enough. Because what that tells me is you've learned enough to make 30K a month. But if you don't start early enough in the rest of this process, you may not grow. You might fail. There's a lot of guys that get momentum and then they fail because they don't know what's coming next.
they can't
So
transition,
what
that's
I'm
why.
saying is, no matter what stage you are, as soon as you start making consistent revenue, even if you're not profitable, man, the first year in ecom I was not profitable.
When you did 5 million, you were not profitable?
No, I lost 200K that year.
Oh,
Then you can't
interesting.
afford that, though. That's the problem.
Hang on. My situation, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Going into Q4, I was like negative $450,000.
Wow.
Going into Q4, something like that. And
You bought a Lamborghini? It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. No
I bought
judgment.
2, and they're about this big. No, I'm not flashy like that right now. But the point is, like, what I'm really getting to, the meat of the actual conversation. It doesn't matter what stage you are, but the earlier you recognize this, the better off you will be. Set some goals. If you're making 10K, 20K, 30K a month, set a goal. Okay, this year I want to hit $1 million. Then, like I mentioned earlier, list out every possibility, idea that you have on how you can improve or what you can expand to in order to do that. Then, draw you a box, a plus sign. High impact, low impact. Fast speed of execution, slow speed of execution. And position all these ideas you came up with in each one of these boxes.
Could that be put like on a spreadsheet or something?
It's actually, I think it's like the Einstein matrix or something like that. I forget what it's actually called, but it's a very simple model, it's known. But my point is, take that. Now, at your current level of experience, you probably don't know if you're positioning the right ideas in what box. So I suggest finding somebody or multiple people to give you feedback, because usually you only need 3 items a year to focus on. That's it.
3 items?
3 key items.
So 3, okay.
If
So
you're picking the right 3 key items, you'll 100%.
give me an example of 3 items for you this year or last year.
Let me do it for my first year,
Yeah, let's do it.
because that's the hardest year to figure things out.
Yeah.
So the first year,
That's like the year that fucking makes
Or breaks you.
breaks 98%.
You either do
of
5 million and keep going, or you do 5 million and you drop.
it.
That's it.
And at that point where that was like last 20, 200, 400,
240,
whatever, like that's
yeah,
where
yeah.
people like,
Yeah,
that's where most businesses end.
sure.
Like-
So that year, basically, from the beginning summary of the year, I started testing products based on my skills and my understanding, mostly marketing. I had no understanding of operations, fulfillment, none of that shit, sourcing, whatever. I linked up with a sourcing agent. They were handling all that shit. I hired a customer support person was the first person I hired. We did about $1.2 million with just me and her. That's it. In the first few months. That's it. Before I started hiring other people. I knew right away that I needed an operations person because I like structure, but I'm not most patient to implement the structure. But I hired the wrong person. Different story. So I knew that hiring the right people were important, but having no experience on how to hire was a mistake. Long story short, I hired a marketing manager, video editors, other people, and I began managing the team and not growing the business. So you don't figure out where your mistakes or what your ideas are to improve until probably 6 to 12 months in. So the first year is really a show. You're just doing everything. But at the end of that year, the first year, planning for the second year is where things became different. I didn't have all these ideas of structuring it with the model and high and low impact and stuff, but here's what I did know. I knew I needed better people. And more specifically, I knew I had the wrong second-hand person, the wrong ops person. If you're a marketing strength, you need a strong operational structure person from the start. As early as you can, hire the person you can best afford at that time. Stretch it if you can, but the better you can hire, the better you are. So going into the second year, we were able to evaluate with her and me and put this into the matrix with high impact, low impact, high speed, low speed. And based on that, we would plug in things, okay, high impact, expanding internationally. Not that hard to do, but it could definitely give some easy revenue because cost is cheap. So we thought. It's not always accurate. But another high impact thing, scale on native traffic, for example, right? Another impactful thing, get better at our ads. Our ads were weak. We had a very weak infrastructure. At that time, we had one editor. One editor and kind of freelance copywriters. So very weak in the creative side. I made $5 million in revenue with one editor and a very intermittent copywriter.
You lost $200,000 with one editor.
With what?
You lost, the summer
I
that
lost
was
it,
a loss.
yes, but I don't look at it that way. The way I look at it is
But many people can't
if you
afford to
made
do that.
$5 million and lost 50%, yeah, you're so you should have quit a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right? To be honest, I wasn't that far away from it, so
Yeah.
Q4 is what saved me. So it almost was that kind of story, to be honest. And I did hear previously, before that most ecom businesses experience 50% of their revenue in Q4.
Yeah.
So I had that idea that that's a possibility.
And this is such a good point. How many of those ideas, shiny objects, different things, tools, AI tools, how do you guys deal with the overwhelming influx of information, and how do you kind of filter that so that you only extract the most valuable?
I will give you a very simple answer. I thought about this a lot because I experienced how much we blew up in the past 6 to 9 months, and it made me realize, if only I realized this 2 years ago.
Yes.
3 years ago.
Yes.
If only.
This is
right?
game
And so I thought, how to replicate this amount, this type of decision making, this pivot.
Yep.
And when you think about it really, and when we take a step back for a second and you think about it, we live in a world of information. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has a YouTube channel, TikTok, everyone will tell you what you're supposed to be doing. Yep. Everyone, bro, everyone. And as you can see, we're at a very similar level from completely different angles.
Approaches,
approaches. But my point is, there is so much information, it's much more dangerous. I think that it's we're just confused, right? And so, to answer your question, it's by isolation.
Yes.
It's by cutting off distractions.
Yes.
Because less is more. And it's really, this is just one of the mental models that I think you can apply in your life. Another one is first principles thinking. That's like literally my number one guiding principle in life. First principles thinking, which in essence means you distill the topic at hand to its fundamental truth, where there are no assumptions held.
Yeah, that's the key.
You know, no assumptions.
Yeah.
I think that we actually we discussed that. What was it with the Road to Less Stupid? Was that the thinking time? And you really, you know,
Thinking Time,
it was what?
It's a great book. Road Less Stupid.
Very good one. I read this one twice. But to get to back to my point. We live in a world of information where you get access to like so many opinions, and it's actually, especially when you're starting out, it's so difficult to pick the right path and pick the right mentor, because if you pick wrong, again, you can be the best in focus, but if you're digging the wrong hole, you're wasting your time anyway, right? So. And when you think about it when you think about how people, it's like we're not growing smarter. If you look back to just 100, 200 years, people had to walk into library to access information, and they were no less smart than us right now. Even, you know, back when in the era of philosophers, when philosophy came about, or not came about, but when it kind of started to be popular, or where we first started to have some
the schools of
orals,
philosophy,
so Socrates, Platon, Aristotle, these type of people, bro, they were absolute geniuses, and they didn't have internet. They couldn't reach out to watch YouTube. And so to draw it back to my point, I tried to replicate my. I try constantly to replicate this type of decision making, and it's really through isolation. That's why I really am not on Twitter that much, not on Instagram, not on Facebook.
I can I agree 100%, and let me give more of a practical example for whoever might be watching this at some stage. After that first year of loss, going into the next year, my thought process was, okay, we're struggling. We need to diversify. We need more products, which is one way to minimize risks, is to find other products that work, right? But we had so much invested into this one brand, one product still. We had a lot of money tied up in it still.
How much?
At that point, we had like 900K in inventory.
Wow.
After just having a small loss from the prior year.
Three Lambos?
I guess, I don't know.
They're second hand, so it's okay.
I can't keep track, who knows? No, but the point is, like, my thought process was, okay, we need to diversify. We need to test more products. We need to minimize our risk, because clearly it sold well in Q4 last year, but the rest of the year after iOS 14, we struggled. Prior to that, we were okay. So it was like, that was my thought process, which was the wrong thought process. And what happened is around, after getting my COO currently on board, which was in February, she audited everything. By the end of April, my whole thought process changed. What I realized is we needed to focus. We have so much invested into this one brand. It's still doing the majority of our revenue. It's just doing it at a loss. Where are all the areas that we should be improving, but instead of improving where we should, we're focusing on launching new products and doing this and doing that, instead of improving the key issues. So that's where it came down to. Some people needed to be replaced. They weren't doing their job. The team wasn't as efficient as they needed to be. Secondly, what was our biggest pain point in acquisition was our creatives, our video team. We had one editor. And from networking with other guys who had multiple editors, they said, hey, split test editors. So a lot of editors are producing different performances, blah, blah, blah. So what happened is, we hired a video team lead, and we hired 3 new editors in addition to the one we had. So we had 4 editors at that point. We started to go through a 3-month process where I would spend half an hour a day with them every single day, giving them feedback on their ads, doing this, doing that, doing this. And you know what? And we started tracking all their performance. After a period of time, we cut this editor, we cut that editor. And what happened is, month after month, we were getting 5 to 8% improvement this month, 5 to 8% improvement that month. And before you know it, within 3.5 months, we were profitable.
Wow.
And then going into Q4, we were able to not only maximize on a similar capacity as the previous year, but now we made all these improvements that really helped us scale. But the thing that in my situation is a little different, because yes, we had a lot of money tied up, and I made the conscious choice of investing into the team, into the company even more, even though we were losing money.
I wanna
It was
interrupt.
the most difficult thing.
I want to interrupt for a second because I want to play devil's advocate because I thought about this a lot. Remember we had this conversation with you, Andrew, Alat, Davey Fugarty, and I think that, I'm not sure whether Paul Niklas was there. You guys said that people are number one, and I kind of argued that it's, you know, the product that's number one, but then you kind of changed my mind because it's actually the people that make the product, and ultimately, you know, yeah, the product is a consequence of
the people.
having the right people. But at the same time, I thought about it, and I agree with this by and large. But then I thought about it, and I have the same team now that I had when we were struggling. It's more or less the same team. 70% of the team is the same. So the point is, you can have the best people.
I don't think 70% matters. The other 30 matters. Are 30% different?
Yes.
Well, but it's mostly okay.
But
the
even
core
then-
strategic team is the same.
Yep.
The
It's the
decision
same.
makers, basically.
But so my point is, you can have the best people in the world, but if you drive them in the wrong direction, again, focus. If you
Yes.
drive them in the
Yes,
wrong
no.
direction, you can have the best people.
I agree.
And you will not move a finger. We literally have the same people,
Yes, yes.
and we make
So
10x.
That's
No,
why I
I
think
agree.
the person who runs that division or the node is the most important person.
But-
that's why I was
yeah.
saying it earlier. If you don't have that person, and that person be completely aligned with you mentally, see it as when you first start and you want to start growing. This is what I was saying earlier. You've got to hire the head of video to then hire the rest of them. That person, okay, head of video might not be a thing that you value a lot as
Yep.
a position. You can just hire that person, they do their job, happy days. But let's talk about more important roles, like the CFO or the CMO, or someone who you need to work really closely with week in, week
Yep.
out, and it has a really big impact on your business. The closer you can become to that person, not just in work, but outside of work, is a huge thing, which is why I think it's good, like you do, to bring your team to events, because again, getting that person to come to war for you is what I think is a thing that allows you to grow. Because like you said, if you're able to lose $500,000 in 1 year, that's true. You need the money in order to grow and scale. You have to lose money to make money. I agree. But many people won't be able to do that.
yeah, no, for sure.
So in order to not be able to do that, if you want to grow really well, to minimize your risk, because nothing is ever guaranteed. Sometimes it can be the leader changing or you changing your approach that gets results. But if you want to really scale, you've got to hire people. And if you hire someone great for that position, hiring more than, like you just said, them to execute the role
Sure.
is the key to success. And then when they join, the more context you can give them, so you and them are like this,
Yeah.
and they truly, like you said earlier with the company manual and all this, we do all of that. But the real high level thing is truly, like we said before, getting the mission of the company and that person's individual personal life goals aligned professionally, because everyone has to work in some way or not. You pick your poison. You either work for yourself or you work for somebody else, but you're going to work, right? So if you pick your poison and you're going to work for someone else, which is fine, you can get rich and successful working for a company, but the real best people in the global market we're in, where anyone can go anywhere because they're working on a computer,
Yeah.
really trying to get them sold on the vision of the business, of you. And to be honest, in order to do that, you just have to be the chief repeating officer. You have to have a core mission about what you want to do and where the brand is going, and waterfall that down and just repeat that often, and then give your leaders their own mantras to repeat that they agree with their team, because you have to literally repeat stuff in your team like 20 times before your team actually takes it on board.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, you might get
Repetition,
bored
yeah.
of saying stuff all the time.
I was getting
But
pissed.
Literally, you've got to say it until they say, "Oh, this is annoying. You've said it so many times." Only then you know you've said it enough times. Yeah.
But and like Mark, I agree with you,
And your leaders should do the
Yeah.
same. It's very important.
and I agree with you. Go ahead.
Yeah. You go.
Oh, I agree with you, but at the stage that I was in, I'll give two pieces, but the stage I was in, I was still figuring things out. So I couldn't lead them correctly. So our team was quite small at that stage. We had 7 people up to that point. So like a few of those people were just wrong, but I was trying to figure things out correctly. I'd focus a lot on just understanding the marketing, the business, getting revenue coming in, revenue focus, because you can't do without cash flow. You need some cash flow and some context. Yes, we lost money the first year, but here's the way I looked at it. I didn't just lose 200K that year. I lost 200K out of 5 million revenue. It was a tiny percentage that I lost. And what I recognized was that first year, we split tested 3PLs. We tried things that we didn't know would work or not, so I took risks. All these elements, I knew we had the wrong people. So to put context to other things, you don't always make that decision to do what I did. I made the decision because I realized that we did $5 million revenue and I lost 200K. If we make a 5% improvement, we're profitable. 5%. And could we do that? Sure. Could I have saved 75K but not taking risks early in the year, testing different things? Sure. And I just was learning. I didn't optimize product costs, didn't optimize fulfillment, didn't have the team optimized. So later that next year, when we started to get into this stage, like I was evaluating where do I need to improve based on the errors that I saw last year.
I think that's why startups also raise capital so many times, because they have the vision, they have the end goal, right? But they don't know all the intricacies, and so they're figuring things out as they go along, and they iterate and they test. Even like what you said, you tested 3PL, and so in the beginning you had let's arbitrary number, $50 COGS, but through negotiating with suppliers, negotiating or finding the right 3PLs, you get it down from 50 to 40, which means that it's not the loss, it's what you saw was the tendency of the marginal improvement that's consistent.
I think the biggest issue is that, and this also ties back to vision, if you don't see ways to improve, you have a problem. It's because either you just lack experience or you're just in the wrong path.
What he said, right? And I just got it. I was processing this, right? That made so much sense, right? So you said you have majority of your team that was pretty much when you were struggling. Same team now. I mean majority. And I'm like, what changed?
Leadership.
And
yes.
This guy changed.
I 100% agree.
And then I'm thinking, good to great, first point, level 5 leadership.
Yeah, because like you can tell a great employee to do X, Y, Z, but you're telling them to do the wrong thing, and you get nowhere. You're spinning your wheels. So last year, I revamped our team. We had a small team. We took it from 7 people. We fired half of them, replaced those, and added like 10 more. So by the end of the year, we had 15. So last year, we did 16 million. Our core group now is still that 15, 16 people. And that 15, 16 people can take us to the 45 plus that we're doing this year. We've expanded only because of necessity on support, or only because we're doing more supply chain related things. But the point is, I agree with him 100%. The right people, the same people can grow if you're giving them the right directions, you're clear on what you need to do, but when you don't know what you need to do, that's your biggest risk.
I get what you're saying. I think you're both right, but you're both coming at it from different points of view.
Yeah.
You're saying it one way, you're saying another way.
I'm saying it from a different stage,
Yeah,
I
but
think,
what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't really matter at what stage you're at. The person is what matters. That person could be you at the beginning because you're doing the thing, but at some point, the person you bring in there, that is the person that matters. Like, that's all that matters is the person. Like, truly get down to that point. Yes, you can say the person in this way or the person that way, or depending on your flavor of it, what you need to do with that person might be different. Maybe you've got to be more hands-on, but ultimately, that person and your ability to get that person doing what you need them to do, right? That for me is a skill of being a great CEO. It's not actually, it's about being the genius maker. Don't be the genius in the room. If you can be the genius maker, and that's what changed for me in my life. Once I realized, okay, for me to really succeed, it's not about me knowing, doing, being all intrusive in everything and doing it the best. I used to think that was the case, and very early on, something snapped me and I was like, no, it's not, it's the other way around. You've got to turn those people into geniuses. And then by you taking them through their inner hero's journey as well, and they become brilliant at what they do, brilliant at email, brilliant at content creation, brilliant at social, whatever it is they do, because I tend to hire them for what they can be, not just what they are right now. They love you for it. Because when you drag them through that inner hero's journey with you, and they start seeing money for it, because you've got to understand, right? When you're hiring people remotely, right, for the sort of money that we make, these people have never seen money like this before in their lives. They're normal people. So then once you start training them up and they get more, let's say, a company to it, they really start believing as well. I know it seems a funny thing to say, but ordinary people seeing a lot of money changes their perspective a lot on things. Especially if they work for a big business. They might work for a big cog in a big business, but they've never really seen money. But when you have the team and they're seeing the ads every day, they're seeing the results, it really gives them a level of inspiration that goes on top of the, like you said, the inner drive of what we're here for. That money makes, let's be honest, like you said, right? We're all here for the money at some point.
Yeah.
And it has an impact on the team as well. When the team actually go from, oh shit, we were doing this and now we're doing this. Don't think it doesn't affect them, it does. It's a massive motivator for them. To make sure that it's the right carrot, but you have to make sure you're leading where that carrot is taking them. You kind of see what I mean? So making sure you have the right culture as you're doing it is important, but it has a big impact on them, and you make sure you leverage that a lot. Like, we ask a lot, how do you feel about this? Like, do you even know what that sort of money would look like? And we ask very interesting questions that the team don't necessarily know how to take at first, but then over time, even ordinary people get used to the money, and then they create phenomenal work.
How do you handle when someone starts to get paid a lot? I noticed with many people in our team that right now they get complacent, they get comfortable, it's almost like, if I really take a step back again, I always like to do that. From evolutionary perspective, our brain is wired to conserve energy, so we will always default to whatever is the easiest, always, right? And so what happened with several team members on our team is that they calculated the amount of effort it takes for them to maintain the certain, to meet the requirements, for the lack of better words. And when you really think about it, if you know what to focus on and you're focusing on the right thing and you actually focus, it doesn't really take that much time. Like people, you know, people like to be busy. We like to be busy because that's what this society and this day and age created.
It's the impression of doing something.
Yes, exactly, and making a progress which is very often false, more often than not. And I still am a victim of 80% of what I'm focusing on is wrong. I truly believe that. Maybe not 80%,
not 80%,
but
yeah,
you get the point. The great majority, or the great part of what I'm working on, big part of it is still the wrong thing. I mean, there can be a variety of reasons like that. I don't know what I don't know, but the thing is that it's like we like to be busy and preoccupied. So the question on you is, how do you deal with people when they get paid a lot to not get complacent?
I can answer that brilliantly. So let me give you an example. In our company manual, we've got a video. I've forgotten the film. I think it's like Chasing Giants or something. And basically, it's a coach, and you have a bunch of college kids sitting down on the field. And coach is like, we're going to play this really, really tough team on Saturday, whatever it is. And one of the team is like, we're never going to win that. And he's like, what? Bro, get up. Kid got up. And he's like, bro, how far do you reckon you can go to get to the start of the pitch? You're going to crawl all the way along. How long do you reckon you can go? He's like, 20-yard line, no problem. How long can you do it if you've got someone on your back? He goes, what, really? Yeah. How far I can go? 30 yards, okay. Give me your best. And he's like, what? Just give me your best. What do you mean? My best, sure, I'll give my best. No, Brock, give me your best. He said it like this. He said, okay, put the blindfold on. Someone gets on his back. He's on his hands and doing the bear crawl. He's bear crawling, can't see where he's going. Coach is just talking to him, keep going, keep going. Don't give up, you promised your best, don't give up. And eventually, obviously, his arms are burning, his legs are burning, like he's on the verge, he's inhaled this kid. And coach gets down to his level and he starts talking, come on, Brock, you've got to do this, don't give up on me, your best. And he just keep repeating this. And what this kid did, he got further than he ever thought possible. And the thing is, if you're going to push your team to be able to achieve feats like this, you have to get down in the weeds with them and encourage them so much like this. Like the coach did, got down to their level and let them know that at the end of the day, no one can do your push-ups for you. No one can do your push-ups for you.
I think this is directly related to what I talked to you about yesterday when I was like, how do I motivate my team just a tad bit more?
I want to answer this question directly, right? So how do you make sure that even if they're getting paid, they're still doing the right things and pushing? Just say, give me your best. When you're here, give me your best. Just your best. That's all I care about. Imagine if you had competent people in the key areas and they truly gave you their best. Because if they truly give their best, they'll overcome problems themselves. They will do whatever it takes to succeed because they're giving their best. If you hire the right person and they give their best, you are unstoppable. So for me, how I see it is I have one job: hire the right person for that role and just do everything I can to get their best. Because even if that person, again, yes, you want to hire people who have experience, this is true. But ultimately, whether you hire someone with experience or you hire someone who, let's say, has potential and you know you can nurture them to there, I tend to move in that direction with things. As long as they're giving their best, it doesn't matter what they're paid, the results are always going to be phenomenal. How they work might change because money does that to you. You have different priorities, you want to do things in life, women have kids. So the output might be different, like on the surface of it, but if they're really, really jacked in, the truth is, them really, really investing in themselves to do that, when all you need to do is ask for their best, I think is how you do it. You just have to, literally, you should watch that clip. It's phenomenal.
I saw it, yeah, you posted it on YouTube.
Just give me a best. Like, and the thing is, that person in their head, they think their best is probably 30-40%. Science has shown that if you ask people to put effort into something, they'll normally have a guesstimate of how much they can do, and that number is normally 40%. It's something like this, don't quote me on that, but you get the logic of thinking. So if you're able to take your team and just be like, look, all I want is your best. It's gonna hurt, there's gonna be things where you're gonna job slip down, it's gonna be a show, you've got to do things yourself, get on your hands and knees, you're gonna write that blog, you're gonna do that email. You've got to keep things going and make sure you manage your team and bring someone else new if you need to. You manage it yourself. All I want is your best. It's all I want. We agree on the goal together. Outside of that, just give me, when you're here, give me your best. Doesn't mean you burn yourself into the ground and have burnout. You still have a great life-work balance. We give unlimited days off, everything. So you still have a great life. But when you're at work, at that computer, with your logging in to work, just give me your best. If you do that, I don't think you'll have a problem. But you have to be able to motivate and inspire that in them. You should watch that clip, it's brilliant. Because when they really give their best, most of the time, that's what was missing. They just didn't believe enough to give their best. And I think, yeah, my job as a main CEO is just to get those two things aligned. Like you said, alignment, and make sure if you're giving your best and we agree on goals, you kind of just give them the autonomy and you coach them from there.
I think also, like, just kind of
very good point.
A little bit more to that. It's attached to being your best, because I think that we as leaders, we push ourselves naturally very hard.
Yes.
But most people do not.
They don't have the emotional investment.
They have a different goal. Mm-hmm. Truly, they're different goals. It might be, I mean, money is always a part of everyone's goal, but not everyone's like cutthroat about that part. Mm-hmm. But money aside, in addition to being your best, I think sometimes you need to help them understand where they can improve, but inspire them to want to improve. Because if they, in my team, we have a very competitive culture, a healthy competition within our team, especially on the video side. Each of our editors really help each other a lot. They lend in a lot of help with new people. But what happens is, in addition to our weekly review, we have daily reviews with the team on outputs. I'm not always involved, but I pop in because it's a consistent meeting they have. And then once a month, they have their assessments. And in those assessments, I've already instructed all the managers, which, in case they weren't aware, don't just praise employees.
Yes.
You need to make sure that there's one or two things that you say, hey, look, you did a great job. These are some areas that we really see a lot of progress, but this and this, you still need to work on. There's some spots here that we have to fix. Because if they know where they're needing effort, and that way you're pushing them to be the best, but they know where they need to be improving.
On a tactical basis like that, what you said is so true, because I've noticed this, especially in successful teams. When you have very successful teams, they tend to pat each other on the back a lot. Yeah. Because a lot of good work gets done. So what I tell them to is, look, if someone does something and they deserve praise, give them the praise. But keep the praise one-liner. You did great with this because of this, because of this reason. Done. Don't say, oh, I love how you did this, and then Mark really benefited from this, and oh, me and Julie were talking about the other. No, this is the praise. This is why I liked what you did. It was good. When it comes to feedback, though, you have to give it differently. What you would say, and again, you choose when to do it. Sometimes it's better to do it on the spot in public. Other times you take it one-on-one. But the feedback is where you go into detail. You give a story about what they did and try and give them, again, this keyword. This just seems to be the word that has helped me anyway, my business grow. It's the node for me that's really allowed me to break through a lot. Context. Tell them the context of what they did that was wrong. Mm-hmm. It's not just a case of, oh, you did this, annoyed me. Why did it annoy you? Because if they do that, then it messes up my day and I can't go pick up my kids. That person probably doesn't even know that. So with us, we have this thing called predictive index, which is like, this very old
we talked
data
about-
set,
we talked about this, like,
where you
literally
answer a
this.
bunch of questions and it gives you a lot of predictive insights about yourself, and you can do relationship matches with your team, and it really gives you a full coaching guide on how to get that person to be better. It's not necessarily the deepest stuff, but it helps a lot. So what happens in our team, what we're trying to encourage this quarter is we have everybody's PI in a folder. So when you're struggling with somebody, or you need to have a tough conversation with somebody, or give feedback in a negative way, let's say, it doesn't have to be negative. Because if you go to their PI and you study how they are, one person might be a maverick, one person might be an introvert, one person might be a jester. There's like different personality types. It makes it much easier, we've seen, for people to communicate. The level of conversation has gone up so strongly just because they understand the type of person they're talking to. Getting upset and irate with one person in my team could put them off completely.
Yeah.
But then doing that to the right person, it fuels a phenomenal conversation where we get insights. So it's all well and good I knowing this, but getting my managers to do this with their team has really improved the quality of how they're managing and leading, and then learning how to split their time between, okay, if I'm going to have meetings and things, this is why it's so important about having the meetings, I need to understand how to get to the root problem of what they're dealing with. So there's a lot more to it than that. Obviously it's a very nuanced thing. This is all nuanced contextual stuff, but yeah, these I think are the differences that don't really get talked about, that I think have the biggest impact on truly having results, because again, they have to do the work. And if you can't, if you have to always tell them what to do, you'll never get anywhere near your potential.
For me, I don't praise my team too often. If you praise them all the time, you lose the effect.
Drew, I don't really give praise that much. I let them praise each other, but you have to curb it, because they do
I
go
agree.
a bit
So that's
too
not meant to be
chitty-chatty about it.
ill there, but the point is, the other piece I've recognized from feedback within my team, because I told you I just recently did a CEO survey, right?
I'm going to do one of those.
I'll share with you what they did. There was some 2 or 3 questions really got me a lot of good feedback. Basically, the main questions was, I asked everyone on my team, is an anonymous survey, what are the 3 things that you feel I do the best? And what are the 3 things you feel I'm the most weak at?
Let me give one piece of feedback, because Morella's implementing, young Morella, she's implementing this for us now. She's already implementing loads of things. Change that. Don't make it anonymous. Let them write their names. You'll get even more truth out of them. Well, now he knows. No, trust me.
I don't know.
Change it to let them say who it is. The truth. We did this as well. The truth comes out even more, because once they know that I'm the person saying it, if that person,
they can be politically correct, no?
It doesn't matter. You'll see that. You'll see that. If the culture is good, you'll see that.
I feel
we always give it up. It was me who said it. This is why I said it.
Yes, but I feel like not everyone's comfortable giving their true thoughts. No, if it's full anonymous, the truth is, I understand most languages.
But I think there is a point there. If they're not comfortable, right?
Yeah,
there's something off with the culture.
Honest,
Potentially true. I think I do agree with that,
in
right?
our company, you should never say something about someone you wouldn't say on That's just how
I
we see
agree.
it.
So this is the first time I did it. So it's the very first time, but I learned a lot, right? One of on the positive sides, what I learned was that people think that I give a lot of feedback. They appreciate the fact that I'm very approachable, meaning like if they have issues, questions, problems they want to learn, like they can come to me. They appreciate that I'm like always striving to be better. And that there's a few of these kind of terms that were repeatedly spoken of, which really helped me identify where they see my qualities impacting them. And one of the key ones that stood out was the fact that they're inspired by the fact that I never settle. So I think ultimately, if you never settle, then what you're talking about with the compensation aspect, they're not settling either. If they're settling, maybe they don't have, you're not conveying to them that same grit and push, inspiring it into them. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a way to do it.
Depends on their motivations. That's why
it does depend.
Best is the best way to do it, because some people are more some people are so good at what they do. People are like seasons, right? We have summer, winter, spring, autumn, so on and so forth. So people are also like that. Some people are in later parts of their lives where they're sunsetting their lives, and what they bring to the table is more brains than brawn, right? So some people in our team, like Mabelle's in our team, I don't pay her to work hard. I pay her to work for what she does. She is an operations guru. So her job is to impart all of her skills into the people who need operations done. That's her thing. Now, she's I'm sure she'll watch this, so don't kill me, Mabelle. You know I love you. But she's more on the mature side, right? So she isn't busting her head non-stop. But then we have Clarence, who's our head of video editing. This motherfucker will work 3 days flat to finish. It's just in their personality traits. And probably when Clarence gets older, he'll change his as well. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that depending on the person and the quality of work and what they do, sometimes it's better for them not to be really, 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 really driven. Because I think when you have a team, having a balance of those personalities helps you, because if everyone's really, really driven, you sometimes do things too quickly. Whereas, and I used to struggle with this, because I was always like, oh, come on. But because she, and then Morella, my chief of staff, she educated me on this, and like, Sam, listen, it's not her profile. Her profile is, she likes to do it. So straight away from understanding her profile, I was able to manage her so much better. And from me doing this, that's why I've got like a really top leadership team now. I'm just teaching them the things that I learned with managing them. And then they're just waterfalling it down. So it's like, I completely agree with you, but then sometimes everybody's different. Whereas if I had that from a younger person, I would not accept that. I don't hire a younger person just for their brand. I hire you for your brand.
Do you look for seasonal balance in your company, or is it more of a certain positions in your company just requires to be different season, or does that not matter at all, and it just comes out as it's just something that you observe, and based on that you approach the person different?
Yeah, so I think it's a mixture of not trying to be too, let's say, intentional about it. Just kind of go, like, you only really need to know those things when you're in conflict. Because it's the conflict that causes the distrust, the miscommunication. So in normal, if you've hired someone great, those two people will get on brilliantly, because again, your culture should bleed through naturally with who you would pick. That little part of your team is like a marriage. Like, really, for me, that's how I see it. Anna does this thing, she's like my extension there. Daniel does this thing, he's my extension there. So from my point of view, how do you manage those relationships? And in order to see it right, I think only really matters at crucial points when you're having conflict. Then I look at that. Outside of that, most people just get on really great because you pick the right people. It comes through in your hiring, it comes through in your personality. So if you've got a good culture, I don't think it's an issue.
How do you know, right? And this happens. How do you know if you have issues?
You'll see it straight away.
It's obvious.
It's so obvious. You don't have to ask that question. If you deny it, you're only denying it to yourself.
Sometimes, there's some kind of like,
complacency,
tensions and stuff, right?
You might keep people around knowing that complacency, but you know if you've got a problem with the person. Let's be honest. Like, the person you had to fire, you've never looked back and thought, I wish I fired. And you always think to yourself, I wish I fired that person sooner. There's always that person who always think that. So I don't even think that's an issue. You always think, I wish I fired them sooner. You never think, I feel gutted.
You know what's a good exercise to do? Take your team and ask yourself, would I hire this person again? Would I hire this person again? Would I hire this person again? And go one by one. I did that exercise and I got rid of people that I think that I wouldn't hire again. Simply for a variety of reasons. Could be, I think more often than not, because we grow so fast in this industry, is that you just outpace people. Like you said that very often, but it's a very good exercise to do. Just think about, would I hire that person again? Eric Schmidt said something so good in one interview at I think it was on Y Combinator. He said, because he was a CEO at Google, right? Eric Schmidt. And he said, do what your gut tells you to do sooner, because then happens exactly what you said, and that is, you come to a point where there is a conflict with a person, and you let's say fire that person, and you only tell yourself, this person should have been gone already for months. And so doing these decisions, these hard decisions, they're uncomfortable because they're just not. They're uncomfortable. That they throws you out of your focus, and it's maybe you don't consider the main thing, but it is.
Patrick Lencioni's book, The Motive, it tells a great story of a guy who was doing exactly that. And once he realized his motive, he was having dinner with his wife and had this really interesting day with this really so-called horrible partner. Long story. At the end, that's what changed for him. He's like, shit, I just realized my motive for wanting to be a CEO is wrong, and he quit the next day. And the book is really well written, but that's the point. Their motives need to be aligned. So I think it goes full circles. We're all kind of agreeing, but in different formats, in different examples of the same thing. But I think I think by and large the theme is correct.
But it comes down to motives, right? It comes down to awareness again, right? Kind of like motives, like what are your awareness, like what drives you, right? So. And then what drives the people on your team? What are different profiles? How you can adjust the treatment? How you can push each person to their particular goals and align their goals with your goals, so you're both pushing in the same direction. They're achieving their goals. You're achieving your goals. So how was that like self-discovery for you? Like how that process,
Through a lot of pain.
I don't think there's one way to do that. I think like in my
pain and failure help.
Yeah, in my case, like I said, first it kind of ties back to vision. You need to know as a company where you're headed, even if it's a little vague, and then because you're growing as a CEO along the way. So that vision, those goals, and that awareness, you acquire that over time. It's not instant. So how you can't make a clear decision because it adapts all the time. And then at the same time, you try to align the team and understand more about them. Like I mentioned, I have notes on everyone on my team. I have conversations with them periodically. I add notes. I even know if like a certain team member had his house renovated and some things like that. And one person on my team likes to go free diving. Like I want to understand so that as we grow, I can still have conversations with them and still relate to them because I want to push them to be their best, like you were saying. If they feel connected and a part of not only the vision of the company, but a part of the team and involved, and people value and remember them. It's all relationships really at that stage, but that's how you get the best out of them, because then they feel like almost like a family, at least at an early stage. Eventually when you go so large, you lose some of that culture.
Should I say something on that? So we've recently changed this and adapted it, because we used to say the cliche thing is we're a family, and recently
we're not a family.
About a year and a half ago, we stopped saying that, because you know what we akin ourselves to now? We are a professional sports team. We are an elite sports team. Now, one thing as you're growing, like you said earlier, you're going to let people go. Now, there's a big emotional aspect when you let people go, because people in the team tend to like people. See, if you're doing really successful, if you're doing well, right, the people you're letting go aren't people. They're just not good enough anymore to take you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
And those people build connections with other people in the team.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes it's very difficult for their friends to understand why my friend, even though they're a million miles away, like for them, in their interactions, they're friends. So it's like, for them, it's meant much more like, why is my friend not staying in the company or being let go? So that's another thing that you have to manage a lot. People's understanding of why people are let go, especially if you're running like we're doing, which is a professional sports team. So sometimes you can be a great, phenomenal player playing for a big team, but you get too old.
I think that analogy is great, because family, there's like emotional attachment of family, right? You can't like get rid of someone in family.
I don't ever refer to our team as family. We always talk about.
There's nothing wrong with that if you do.
I personally don't, because I agree already. But I don't even. But when you're addressing your team, I don't say say we do once a month GAs, General Assemblies, where we review the previous month's performance.
How is it called?
General Assemblies.
So it's presidential.
A GA. It's basically once a month we have a whole team meeting. We review last month's performance, what we did right, what we did wrong. We review goals for this month. And what it does is it just brings unison across the team. But in those, for example, I don't refer to, the company did X, the company did Y, this is what's happening as the company. I refer in those cases, I say the team. Which is kind of the mentality what you're saying of like a sports team. So I never refer to family, and I don't even really refer to as company at this stage, because I want them to feel more associated to it, and that's been a very unifying effect.
The reason why it's so good seeing like that is because it helps people mentally process as you're growing, and you're letting people go and hiring new people. They won't get, okay, I understood why she had to leave. I understand, and many people as well as you're growing will step down. So if you have the right culture, what we tend to find is, and what we're seeing is, people see straight away when you've taken the next leap to the next level and they can't do it, they see very quickly and they resign. That's happened quite a lot of times in our team. Once you level up, you know this, right? You level up, everyone is like, oh, now this new paradigm, there's going to be a couple of people who are just like, all of a sudden I have to leave. And you're just like, okay.
And then it means
they always give you a different reason why. You know it's because, the demands are higher, everyone has a higher expectation now, it's time to perform. They probably got lucky or was pulled up with the rest of the team, but whatever their reasons are, you all know it. But also, what do you do about that? Nothing. You just hire again.
And to be honest, this might be maybe a little bit more than what a company needs to do, at least, but I'm doing it at this stage because anybody that comes in and out of your team can certainly be disruptive. Like you said, they build relationships with each other and such, so when you pull them out, it can be detrimental. And I'm mostly concerned with just not disrupting performance.
That sports team mentality helps out a lot, because they know if this person's gone, it's because we need to get better
it's not even
right wing or up front.
Most often, we have weekly meetings and stuff, we actually address it when someone's left.
Oh yeah, of course.
We say, look, guys, XYZ had to exit the company. We love them, great person, blah, blah, blah. However, we've been working with them for several months and we weren't able to get the performance out of it that we agreed to or that we had set in KPIs. And so, they all understand that when someone leaves the team, it's because if we don't remove people that are underperforming, they all understand it puts every one of them and their families at risks in terms of their responsibility, their financial responsibilities for their families. So basically, everyone on our team knows weak links get removed because weak links makes us all weak.
Yeah, you're only as strong as your weakest.
And so we don't translate it that way, but I'm very transparent when we exit people. Because another thing is, like, we've noticed twice that if we don't share a little bit, the next person thinks, oh, am I next?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
What is that?
One of the people on the team will think, oh, am I the next person to exit?
Oh yeah, and they're like, oh, why you left?
So
What happened?
if you're transparent about it,
Yeah.
then at least they understand why the person was exiting.
They start talking with each other.
So then the only people that are afraid are the other f***ers that are not performing.
Yeah.
That's it. And that way there's no disruption, there's no hysteria. And that's been a very good move for us at this stage.
What would be like maybe one piece of advice? Okay, there's like Andrew 2 years ago, Sam, Marek. What would
I'll go last. I think my one will be surprising. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, go.
One thing that I would that just stood out that I would have done differently or that is very impactful. For me, it's pretty simple because I think you need to be very aware of who you are and very honest with what you're good at and what you're not. I think I come from the mentality of trying to do everything because I've been used to doing more of a solo entrepreneurship.
Solopreneur, yeah.
Yeah, solopreneur. And for me, kind of the big pivot moment was hiring the right operational person onto my team because it took all my energy, thoughts, experience, creativeness, ideas, and it balanced it with more evaluation, structure, planning, and then ultimately process execution. And by being more grounded with that, because my strength is not this side. I understand some of it, but I'm not my personality doesn't mesh with that. So, and it was, you need to be aware that I can't take on this side. You should do it. So for me, when I found the right person, it was very short period of time improvements, huge improvements. And what I look back now, and I think I've shared this with you before, kind of the way I evaluate people I bring onto my team, especially if they're in the manager levels or above, I don't want to hire someone onto my team that if I'm not learning something from them in that first week, if they don't teach me something, I have the wrong person. And they don't need to be much more knowledgeable than you, meaning I might have 90% of the knowledge that they have, but there has to be some 5 or 10% of knowledge that I see that they have that I don't have, and that's what I want to be proven in that first week or so. And that helps me have more confidence that they're the right person onto my team. But ultimately, hiring a strong operational person, which is my weaker area, so I can continue focusing on my strengths, but have the balance of my weaknesses involved in the team. Everything started to change course, and it started to smooth out the ride. And that's where we saw the biggest improvements.
For you, Sam? Oh, Mark?
If I were to give advice to really me 2 years ago, I wouldn't try to tell him, think bigger, have bigger vision, know thyself. I mean, of course, that's all implicit, but really the bottom line is I would just be very tactical and tell him, hey, just pick product that will make you money, because that's what you're optimizing now anyway, so don't lie to yourself, and do VSLs because that's the best way to go about it.
Thank you. Sam?
I think, even though I agree with you 100% tactically, I think fundamentally though, give your best. Just like we spoke about telling your team to give their best, like in that analogy. Every day you come to work, give your best, you should do the same. The difference is for us at the top, we haven't got someone who gets down in the weeds with us when things get tough, screaming at us to keep going. We don't have that luxury, we don't have that privilege. So looking back, I would tell myself, The only one who's going to pick this situation up is you. It's not going to happen by fluke, it's not going to happen by accident. You have complete autonomy over what happens here. You can choose to, when you get to hell, keep going, or you stay there, crumble, and let it be something that defines you. So I would say, just give your best. Because like you said, you might make a decision that was wrong. Looking back through hindsight, you could have done better. That's always going to be the case. You'll always find things that you could have done better. But as long as you can say to yourself, hand on heart, you gave your best, whether you're right or wrong, you'll always be able to look at yourself back in the mirror and say, okay, you know what? At least I gave it my best shot. And I think in life, when it's all said and done, that's all you can hope to have done. What results you can get will depend on the boat you're in, the product you choose, the market. All those things are variable and they're very important. But ultimately, some people will become billionaires that we know. Some people will become, doing, hundreds of millions. Some people will only get to 20, 30 million, and that's all fine. As long as each of us can look in the mirror and say we gave our best. Realistically, once you get over a certain amount of money anyway, it's all just folly, So as long as you can say you gave your best, demand that from your people as well, and genuinely give your best, because no one's going to be pushing you. You've got to push yourself, and that's why it's the hardest for us at the top.
Thank you, my man. So when you started getting that focus, clarity, you started focusing on the right things, like you said, 8-9 months ago, that transformed your business, life mindset, everything, right? You were at a low point, were you? Or
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Was your back against the wall?
Yeah, of course.
Was your back against the wall? When you
my back was against the wall because one, I have a partner and he has a lot of capital also involved in this, and it's
a 900K in inventory.
Yeah, and it's different when it's just you, right? But when you have someone else involved, the type of person I am, it's a different type of failure if you don't make it through. So it's I'm fighting for the both of us, basically his side of it and my side of it. I didn't want to let someone down, so that's part of it. But yes, my back's against the wall, but to clarify, my mentality has always been, there is no way that I will fail. It's just about how long it's going to take me to win. So I don't give up. I'll find a way. So I might fail multiple times along the way, but at the end of the road, I'm going to win. There's no other option. And fortunately, I have a business partner that's just in line with that same mindset, that we're very aggressive. We take calculated risks equally together. And it's not about, maybe the ecom fails, but we'll keep going to a different path, another idea, something eventually, I will win. And so, looking further ahead.
Your own inner hero's journey of being the CEO.
Yes. What about you?
I think number one, I'm the alignment with my team, and the people around you, it wasn't there, and we also had low moments. And thinking back, it was just
the biggest
wrong, just kind of wrong, kind of
from the root as well, to everything, it penetrates everything,
and kind of wrong kind of relationship, and that changed everything. Since we fixed that, we started putting things in place. Everyone knows what they need to do, and things started to go up.
Yeah, but you don't regret it, do you? That's
not.
That's the maturity of the context of someone who knows how to make decisions. Because even though you look back, it's the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Not being regretful of the decision.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a great quote we say a lot in our team. It's okay if it's not okay, but it's not okay to be okay about it. Now, let me unpack what that means. So it's okay not to be having what you want happen, right? That's okay. But it's not okay to be it's okay. No, that's not okay. It has to hurt.
Yes.
You have to feel it.
Yeah.
Because as long as you feel it, at least you have the emotional investment enough to fix it. So that's why in our company, it's okay. I'll say it again slowly so it all makes sense. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to be okay about it. So you have to truly care and it touch you somehow for you to go out there and fix it. As long as you have that, we don't care about making mistakes. You can't keep making the same ones because that means you're not learning. But if you make a mistake and you're not okay about the mistake, that's all we care about. Outside of that, you'll fix it. If you need our help, let us know.
Yeah.
And once you run like that, I think it gives them such autonomy, such freedom. It lets it's a mantra in the company we repeat a lot, so everyone truly understands, like, because especially when you're breaking new ground with new creative endeavors, it's really hard to get creative people working in the right way. And the thing that you've got to realize for creative people, they get a lot of no's. Truly creative people get so many no's because they design so many things. No, not good enough. Not only, like, they'll design like 100 things and like 1 or 2 get picked. So they're really, 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 really used to having a lot of rejection with things. So we just kind of find when you take this approach, it's more nuanced, it gives much more understanding towards things. It just allows creativity to foster within your group so much more. So yeah, and it's worked really, like, yeah, it just really, really worked. Like for us, it's a philosophy that we say a lot, it's something we repeat a lot. And yeah, especially when you're doing creative things, it's really hard for them to get it right, and it's okay, they're gonna make lots of mistakes, they're used to it. So.
Yeah, and one last thing to piggyback off what you asked me earlier was like, you only fail the moment you give up.
Yes. You might lose at something, but failure is a choice. Yep. You can lose, you can try something and lose at it, but failing is completely different to losing. Yeah, it's completely two different things.
Guys, I mean, you're f***ing legends, outliers, true f***ing outliers, zero progressions to f***ing billions. Thank you guys for watching these legends. I don't know if you guys kind of like how you're filtering your time, but we might attach, you know, your contact information in case people want to get in touch. Sure. Maybe you want to join these guys' teams. Yeah.
We're always hiring.
So are we.
Thank you guys.
Ciao.
Cheers.